Siti Nazira binti Muhammad, matric number 271361. Okay, today I can explain with the introduction of taxation. Taxation can be interpreted as a payment that must be paid, but is not fine imposed the government on the use of income. Proceeds from the taxation collection are often used by the government to manage, administer, and develop the country. According to the economist Pierre Paul Laurel, 1891 state the taxation is an aid given to be public power to claim government expenditure, those grant or indirectly, that is the taking from the acquisition of goods. The purpose of taxation is to fund development projects. Taxes collected by the government are used to cover the cost of national development, such as school, hospital, clinic, and so on. The next point for purpose of taxation is taxes as a tool of income wealth redistribution. Taxes is a mandatory payment that must be made by each individual to the government. For example, collected directly or indirectly from the people. Taxes collected by the government will be given back to the people, though the state budget, which will usually be presented in the parliament. Taxation classification delivered to two parts. First, direct tax and indirect tax. For the direct tax, is a tax levy on a natural person such as individual, and usually it's a levy based on their income ability of the tax pay measure based on the income. For the indirect tax, basically tax that can be passed on the other entity or individual. This tax is usually imposed on the producer or supplies, and then they transfer the tax on consumer.
Hello, my name is Nurul Hizah Suraya binti Zainal, matric number 271363. Today I will talk about principle of taxation. Principle of taxation is the formula that given guidelines for those somewhat wide that can be accepted or be discussed that and also be considered in specific laws based on proposed, discussed, and implemented. So, for the first point is about equity. Equity is a taxation expressed. That idea in taxes should be fair as one of the principles that guide tax policy. This equity should have vertical or horizontal. Based on Kurt Weiss and Noah Berger in the Massachusetts Budget and Policy Center, horizontal equity addresses questions of whether or not in a tax system that makes an arbitrary distinction in among taxpayers or it based on irrelevant criteria. For horizontal, principle of tax in horizontal equity has similar sequence. Individuals face similar in tax burdens. Horizontal equity can be considered as one of the important in principle of tax theory, and add on it was sense attention that have been paid for the question normative foundation. Next, for vertical. Vertical is the one of the method of taxation that one person who has income tax liability of an individual increase on their income increase. Based on the principles, individuals that have higher income and have more assets, they must pay higher income tax than other person who does not have more income and assets. They have three types of vertical equity, such as proportional taxation, regressive taxation, and progressive taxation. Next, for the second point is economic efficiency. For the requirement that has tax system to be effective arise in the nature of the market economy. Economists also have to develop techniques for measuring the excess burden for the result when the taxes distorted in economic decision making. Next, for the third point is about economic goals. The goals of a national tax system was to generate revenues for pay to expenditures of government for all levels. As we know, public expenditures tend to go for the least as fast as national products. Taxes as the main of vehicle for government finance. And it should produce the revenues for grow correspondingly. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Shifa binti Ibrahim and my metric number is 271180. So, I will discuss more about part 3, that's tax analysis. So, our group has chosen the country of Singapore. Tax is a mandatory payment imposed by the government to the people, and each country has their own taxation system. In Singapore, the government has collected tax on the people by using GST or VAT, and both of these tax has the same purpose and implementation system. In Singapore, there is a body that works in the matter of tax collection known as Island Revenue Authority of Singapore or IRIS. So next, I will discuss more about classification or type of tax. In Singapore, there are several tax bases that have been set by the Singapore government. The tax base in a country is usually determined by the item or economic activity on which the tax is levied. Among them are income tax, wealth tax, duty estate, motor vehicle tax, costume and excise tax, stamp duty, or good and service tax or GST. Okay, second is the tax rate structure. The tax rate structure is divided into three parts. First is proportional rate. Okay, structure at proportional rate tax are usually proportional or constant. A constant or fixed tax rate even if the tax base increase, for example like GST or stamp duty in Singapore. Okay, second is progressive rate. Progressive rate is referred to graduate rate tax. The progressive tax rate is in the nature of increase the tax rate, increase the value of the tax base. Usually, this progressive tax rate is referred to the individual income tax in Singapore. Third is regressive rate. Regressive rate refers to a graduate rate tax. Okay, its nature is that the percentage decrease as the base value of the tax increase. For example, like property tax at Singapore.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name Hasriani binti Abdul Qadir, nometric is 271433. Today I will present about GST rate trend in Singapore and taxation principle achieved in term equity principles. GST was introduced in Singapore on April 1st, 1994. The initial GST rate in Singapore on April 1st, 1994 was HMAS as 3%, which was maintained for 9 years. This is because the government has set a guarantee of limiting the 3% to at least 5 years. Based on the schedule, the GST rate in Singapore gradually increased after April 1st, 1994. Is the GST rate increased 4% in 2003, 5% in 2004, next 7% in 2007, and remains so to this day. Since 1986, the Singapore government has taken the initiative to reduce corporate and individual income for rates. The rates of both taxes were the highest in Singapore during the year known to be uncompetitive. The government has created tax reforms to enhance Singapore international competitiveness through individual and corporate income tax cuts. Therefore, the existence of GST in Singapore could push the government to lower the rates of both taxes. Next is taxation principle achieved in term equity principles. Principle of equity is one of the main principles of taxation. This principle requires the tax is implemented fairly and impartially as between the public. Singapore GST is based on consumption. Therefore, all residents who wish to use goods and service regardless of high, medium or low income shall be taxed. There is an equity theory which is the theory of benefits, where anyone want to enjoy benefits has to pay taxes. This leads to there are a few individuals who consider the implementation of GST as a regressive GST, that is the tax burden borne by low-income individual is more than high-income individual. To overcome this problem, the Singapore government has implemented GST simultaneously with the implementation of the offset package to reduce the negative impacts of GST on low-income households and individuals. It gives justice to every resident through the public sharing a portion of its income and wealth. That's all from our groups. Thank you very much.